This interview is with Sally Taylor, who is a racehorse retrainer, and we're going to be talking about the racehorse industry today. What are your views on the horse racing industry as a whole?
I'm for it, only because I've been brought up with it my whole life. My dad's a racehorse trainer himself. Every industry has its pros and cons, but I think there's more pros than there are cons with racehorse industry. You always have the bad side of things in the racehorse industry, like the injuries and maltreatment and all that, but as a whole, what would the horses be doing if they weren't racing? They'd be in a paddock doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree. With your career, what is the most common racehorse injury?
I'd say tendons or feet, because sometimes the horse's feet aren't, because they're being shod the whole time, they're not actually growing out, and if they have stone bruises they don't get a chance to grow out. They always are constricted by their shoeing. And then when the horses are put in the paddock after they've finished racing, they're usually not looked after. They're just let go and they get cracks and bad feet.
What is the worst case you have seen?
Probably the worst case was a horse that was put out to the paddock and not looked at for probably 2 years. It was very, very, very skinny, and its feet were horrible. It actually ended up having to be put down due to it literally couldn't be ridden because of its injuries, and putting weight on it was not an option because it was too far gone.
Very sad. What are your views on knackeries?
Disagree with it completely, but I also feel that if there wasn't knackeries, horses would possibly be starving in their paddocks as far as drought conditions go.
And what is your belief on the knackeries treatment of these animals before their death?
Horrible. Completely disagree with it. They should be treated with respect. They're getting money out of them, I know that, but they are animals and they have feelings too.
Do you believe that some of these animals are fit to be everyday riding horses instead of slaughter, like
Yes.
the young ones?
Most definitely, all of them really, unless they've been mistreated that bad that they're a bit mad, then not really much option you can do besides put them in the paddock. But yeah, 99% of the time, definitely all retrainable.
Do you believe that while racehorses are in training, that they are taken care of properly?
From what I've seen, yes. I've worked at 5 different stables, and like my dad personally, and yes, definitely. They're looked after just like show horses.
Nice and round.
Yep.
Do you think these horses are being overbreeded?
Yes, it's a huge industry, and they really should limit how many horses are allowed to go to each stallion every year. I reckon like putting a limit on the stallions, like the amount of mares that can go to them each year.
Why do you think racehorses aren't being saved?
I think there's a big view on racehorses from the wider community that once they've been racehorses, they're not retrainable and they're just racehorses. They can't be anything else. And I guess a lot of people that aren't experienced enough get racehorses and get hurt, and that story gets around and those views get around.
False image stereotype.
Yeah.
What do you believe needs to be done about these horses?
Well, I've always had a view of every racetrack having its retraining thing like there on the racetrack. So if one's finished racing or one's injured or whatnot, they have like an arena in the middle of the racetrack, jumps and stables separate to the racehorses, and have people there training. Obviously, that would be more money, but I think the government and the racing industry itself should cover that.
And what is most difficult about training these horses with your career? Retraining them?
Probably getting them out of the headspace of being a racehorse when they go out to different competitions and there's a crowd of horses. That's usually when you see the true racehorse come out in them.
Think they're gonna race.
Other than that, that's about it with the difficult thing.
And what is most rewarding about this job?
The day they get on the float and go to their new home where they can actually have a life after racing.
Well, thank you, Sally Taylor, for your views on the horse racing industry. as a racehorse rehabilitator?